Greetings, crafty friends. Welcome to another episode of Angela Shows You. So today I thought that it would be fun to work on making some scrunchies. So I've done a video in the past on just really like a basic, one color scrunchie, but I've been seeing a little bit more. Sorry, I have a fan blowing and it's like blowing right into my face, but it's quite warm out. Anyway, I've been seeing, kind of a lot of two-tone scrunchies, and I thought, those are fun because as people who enjoy sewing, I would imagine, like me, you probably have a ton of scrap material. I mean, I have an entire bin full of scraps that overflowed so much that I also have this. This is full of scrap material, and then I have a whole tote full of scrap material. And I'm always trying to think of ways that I can use up my scrap material, and so a hair scrunchie is actually a great way to use up some scrap material. You don't have to use just solid, one solid color or print or whatever. So today we are going to do a two-tone. We're going to make it two different ways. The first one, I've actually already cut the material. The second one, we'll cut it together. But what I already did was I cut two pieces of material, okay, that coordinate, of course, a sunflower. And then this one, it's not really quite solid. It does have just a little, like a fine little print in it, as you can see. It's not a solid yellow. It's very pretty, actually. So I cut these at 2 inches wide, and these are 22 inches long. I would recommend making a scrunchie anywhere between 20 and 24 inches long. So I chose 22 for these. So we're going to make this two-tone. So the first thing that we need to do, we're going to put our material right sides together, okay, and we are going to sew just one stitch right along one of the sides. And because this is a little bit on the long side, I am actually going to just put a couple clips in so that it stays where I want it. I'm going to start up here and I'm going to sew down. And I'm going to use just a hair under a 1/4 inch seam allowance for this. Okay, so here we go. And I did do a couple stitches forward, and then I went back, and now I'm just coming forward again. Okay, so now we've got one long strip of fabric. And this solid yellow one is actually a hair longer. So I'm going to just go ahead and trim up the two edges just so that it's completely even, so it doesn't throw me off later when we go to do the final step of this. Okay, so so we've got our two pieces sewn together, and then what I actually want to do now is I do just want to take this to the iron, and I want to go ahead and open up. I want to open these and iron them down so that they're flat. So then our next step is going to be, we're going to take this piece now and we're going to fold it again, right sides together, and we are going to sew the open side. That's why I wanted this flat. We're going to sew our open end. Same thing, we're just going to breeze right down the open seam, so that what we'll do here is we're going to end up with a tube. And this time I am going to go right, and I'm going to do the full 1/4 inch seam allowance. So now we have a tube. Then our next step is going to be we have to turn the tube right side out. So I purchased these on Amazon. However, I've also seen these at Joann Fabrics in the past, and this was actually a 3-pack. And I did reference this on the last scrunchie video that I did. It came with 3 different sizes. So depending on how fat your tube is. So because we have a pretty wide tube, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the widest. This one is a 1/2 inch, and it says for 1 inch and larger tubes. And this is what we're going to use to push through. I tend to not use like the sharp end. This is not sharp by any means. I usually push through with the flat end of this. But what you're going to do is you're going to just insert the tube into your fabric. Okay? And we're going to insert it a little ways in. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the stick and we're going to just push that in. I didn't push it in far enough. You want to give it a little bit because you need enough space for it to start feeding in, but not too much. Like if you do it, you'll know it's kind of gotta. Okay. And then you're just going to push it. Voila. Tube done. So now we have a two-sided tube. Then the next thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a piece of elastic and a safety pin. Go ahead and put the pin in the, now this particular elastic is about 1/4 inch. You could definitely use wider, you could use a 1/2 inch, you could use 3/4 inch elastic, you know, really just depending on like how fat you want the scrunchie to be. And then this is about 6.5 inches long piece, unstretched. Make sure when you cut it, don't have it pulled as you're cutting it. Leave it unstretched. This is about 6.5, might be just a tad over. I would say don't go any longer than like 6 3/4 or so, or you're not gonna get the pull in it. Okay, so now we're going to just insert the paper clip end in, and we're going to just feed the paper clip through one end. And of course you want to keep your eye on this end. You don't want to let it go into the, you want to just make sure you keep a grip on it. Okay, so we're just going to feed that right through. So I'm holding on to it. I tend to hold on to it with a finger and then just push it, kind of hold it in my palm as I am feeding the elastic through. And then you just, of course, are going to have to give it a little bit of a pull every once in a while. When you get towards the end of the fabric, it does get to be, you know, a little bit on the tricky side because you have a lot that you're working with. Okay. Doesn't look like much right now, but give it a minute. So then what we're going to want to do is we need to sew together our two ends of the elastic. So I took the safety pin off. We're going to want to overlap flat ways, and don't try not to let it twist, but we're going to overlap flat and give it, you know, a little bit of an overlap. And we need to stitch this. Now I go down, then I back stitch all the way back up, and I go down again. I want to, you know, these get pulled on, so I want to make sure that it's really secure. And I also change to a zigzag stitch because I think that just helps give a little bit of the give. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so we are almost there. The last thing that we're going to just need to do is push our fabric up And then we need to sew our opening. So what you're going to want to do is you are going to, I actually like to take one end of this and fold it in just a little bit. That way you get a nice, you don't have a raw edge. So we're just going to fold one piece in, one of the ends in a little bit. And then we are going to take the other end and we're going to tuck that in. And I just, of course, I want to make sure that the flower piece and the flower piece are lined up. There we go. You know, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be in your hair. Okay, but there we go. And then we're going to just go right ahead and we're going to stitch that. So you want to make sure that you push the one end in a fair enough amount so that when you stitch it, it all catches. If you don't put it in far enough, then, you know, you run the risk of your material like not catching. Okay, so here we go. Last time at the machine for this one, and we're going to just do a little stitch. And then, of course, we'll trim off the long pieces. But there we go. Cute, isn't it? And then, so you know, kind of have a reversible piece, and when it's twisted in your hair, you would see a little bit of both. So I think this is super cute. So now the other way, suppose in your stash of scrap fabric, you don't have a piece that is, you know, 22 to 24 inches long, but you have it, you know, plenty wide enough. So what we would do is we would kind of do a little bit similar, where we would cut two 10 to 12 inch pieces. So what I have here is I've got two coordinating pieces of fabric, this red that has a little bit of a pattern in it, and then I have this. So neither one of these pieces is 22 inches long. So what we can do is we can cut both of these. I'm gonna cut these between 3.5 and 4 is kind of the ideal width of our fabric. So I'm going to just take these two pieces and I'm going to, because they both have one nice flat end, I'm going to just clip them so they stay put. Okay. I'm going to go to my cutting mat and we're going to just cut these. So I'm lined up here and I'm going to cut these at the 3.5 inch mark. And I'm just using lines on my ruler to make sure that I have it straight. So I'm going to cut both of these at 3.5. Put those back for something else. So now I have two pieces that are 3.5 inches wide, and these are 10 inches tall. That's exactly where we wanted it to be. So now the next thing that I'm going to do, of course, because I'm using red material, is I am going to just switch out on my machine to red thread, because you do see a little bit of the threads at the end. So I do want it to coordinate so that it doesn't stand out like a sore thumb. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take these two pieces, we're going to put them right sides together, and we're going to stitch these along one edge so that we have one long piece. So again, I want to take this to the iron, and I want to just go right ahead and open that seam up. So now we have one piece that is 20 inches long by 3.5 inches wide. Okay, so same thing as before. We're going to take this and we're going to fold it in half, and we're going to make our tube again. And to make sure that I keep it even, I'm going to just make sure that I line up my two colors, and I'm going to clip it right there. That way hopefully we don't shift around too very much. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come to the machine. Okay, same thing, we're going to turn this take our piece of elastic that is 6.5 inches, and we're going to feed this through as well. And of course, this is cotton, but you could make a scrunchie out of satin. You could make one out of like a velvet. You could even use corduroy. You could use flannel. I mean, really, you know, you could use just about anything. You could use, maybe we'll do another one and we'll do one with a little bit of like a lace trim. Okay, here we go. Fed through, same thing. We're going to stitch we're going to give this a stitch. I'm going to just switch to the zigzag stitching. We're going to give this a stitch. It moved on me. There we go. Okay. I'm going to fold in one of my ends here. And then we're going to tuck in just like that. And then we're going to stitch that closed. And then we've got our little threads. Wasn't that quick? And again, when it's in your hair, you know, and kind of twist it around, you're gonna see both. So either way, lengthwise or half and half. Okay, so I hope that you will make these, and I hope that you will leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know what you think of these after you've made a couple. And you know, I hope that you find them as easy as I do, and I hope that you will give this video a thumbs up if you found this to be helpful. And if you haven't yet subscribed to Angela Shows You, I hope that you will. I am trying to grow my channel, so every subscription I truly appreciate. All the new subscribers that I get as I share these fun little projects with you, and hope that you will follow along with me and continue watching as I show you how to make other things in the future. So please thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.